This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. Welcome once again. Ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. Just wanted to come to you with a quick clip on pay-per-view. You know, the questions always come up with the proliferation of streaming services, whether or not pay-per-view as we know it is dead. I say pay-per-view isn't dead. It's far from it. And I'm not sure if we noticed, I think it was last month when Terrence Bud Crawford defended his WBO welterweight title against Amir Khan at Madison Square Garden. You know, the showdown was headlined by ESPN's first pay-per-view card, since the network engaged a 7-year distribution deal with Bob Arum's top-ranked boxing promotion back in October of 2018. So you wonder, because some of the times you hear all of this stuff with Disney, you hear all of this stuff when it comes down, when you drill down to ESPN and ESPN Plus and everything that's being sold, well, or you know, not per se sold, but shared to the media, and you think about it, and that Crawford and Khan was the third pay-per-view event of 2019. Corroboration that despite the emergence of OTT subscription services like ESPN and DAZN, those like the two big players, we know that HBO bowed out. Showtime is still in the game, but the pay-per-view platform remains alive and well. Now, Bob Arum explained that there's a misconception that the subscription model and the pay-per-view model are at a conflict with one another. But moving forward, you're going to see that they merely supplement each other. Look at the ESPN UFC deal. That's the future of the way these big events are displayed or presented to the viewer. And if you think about it, Bob Arum is right. I mean, he's been in the game for many, many, many years. Boxing pay-per-view has a future, and despite companies like ESPN Plus and DAZN making 9-figure investments into the sport because the rights fees to the biggest fights are too expensive for a linear television network or streaming service to take on, fighters command big purses for big fights, and the only way to make the math work on those fights is to show them on pay-per-view. I'm sorry, but showing boxing, I mean, we've seen it with PBC on Fox on Saturday nights, but for the most part, linear television station, ABC, NBC, CBS, having that big pay-per-view fight, you know, it's usually on a specific service or cable station, or because when it comes down to it, unless it's the Super Bowl and it's, you know, there's licensing fees involved in that, number one, if you can't determine how many, you know, people are going to be viewing this event or this show, kind of like the Super Bowl, you know you're going to get a huge number, you're going to get all different types of advertising and the cost of it, then you can't take that on. But we noticed this much. The recent Cinco de Mayo bout with Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs, it aired on DAZN. So subscribers of the monthly service got the fight for just $19.99 or $99 a year. That platform is simply using the marquee bout to get subscribers in the door. And once they build up a large enough subscriber base, they too are going to price major fights above their monthly subscription fee. You know, I kind of sit back and I think about DAZN when out the gate when it was $9.99, and I'm like, okay, what am I getting for $9.99? And initially it was boxing and MMA, which was primarily Bellator, and then they started to get live sports, meaning, a baseball show and some soccer and other things like that. And then it goes from $9.99 to $19.99. If you look at it, if you look at the Netflix and you look at, I can remember when I was a subscriber on Netflix and it was $7.99. I think it's now $16. So you got to look at it because what was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought, but do we ever think like a Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua matchup would air on the Zone? And that's highly unlikely. It'll have to go to a broadcast type platform that puts the most amount of money up. I mean, you think about it. What's his name? Eddie Hearn from Matchroom Boxing. He signed Triple G to a 3-year, 6-fight contract. Triple G is 37 years old. Don't get me wrong. Love him to death. Solid fighter. But wow. So you got to think about with Triple G. He chose Hearn and the Zone, the combination of Matchroom Boxing and the Zone over ESPN and Top Rank. And also we have to factor in Premier Boxing Champions in Fox. You have to acknowledge the fact that adding Triple G to a stable of fighters, with all of these different companies, believe it or not, there's budgetary constraints. And you got to think about it. For Top Rank Boxing, the choices were to sign a 37-year-old Triple G or sign a 27-year-old heavyweight champion in Tyson Fury. I think you're going to get more bang for your buck with Fury. But the next Tyson Fury fight will be against Tom Schwartz on ESPN Plus in June. And while that bout will get more eyeballs if it aired on the ESPN linear network, Bob Arum understands the transition to digital is a process that Tyson's presence is necessary for ESPN Plus to continue building its subscription base, which is now at more than 3 million. So you got to think about it. Bob Arum, he knows. He's been through it before. We can remember how, when people talked about abandoning radio, when millions of people were listening to make fights exclusive for television, when there were so few television sets that were out there. I know it sounds crazy that I'm even talking about this, but I think we're going to see within the next 10 to 15 years, when most of this content, including live sports, is going to be on a streaming platform. If you think about it, if you watched the Final Four, you saw an interview with WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder in between games. And many wondered at CBS why they would feature the boxer during college basketball's biggest event. And the decision was savvy. It was a savvy strategy to introduce Deontay Wilder to the American sports fan, because the network itself was incentivized to use the valuable time slot and a segment that averaged 13.7, almost 13.8 million viewers on Deontay Wilder with his next fight on Showtime, which is a CBS subsidiary. Now, cross-promotion is among the benefits of Top Rank's deal with ESPN2 and Arum & Company. They first got a taste of the marketing possibilities now that they're aligned with the Walt Disney Company. You got to think about the cross-promotion with, the properties with ESPN. You got to leverage your intellectual property to create an even bigger event to give you that event feel that gives them an advantage over the streaming services of competitors when trying to sell a pay-per-view match. Those are just some brief thoughts. Pay-per-view isn't dead. It's not going anywhere. It's we're in the process of reimagining it. All right, this is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. I want to thank you again.